Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to the Gameweek 22 pod of the FPL Wire. I'm your host, Zoph, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Late Riser and Pras. It feels weird podding on a Friday, but there has been so much information coming in over the last hour. I'm glad we waited. It's been a mad one, hasn't it, LR?
Yeah, man. Especially in the last 20 minutes just before the pod, we were like, okay, wait, this press conference is coming. This press conference is coming. And we got news on some big players. I mean, a player you were looking to get in this week, Jota. A lot of people are looking to captain this week, Palmer. So what we're going to do right at the top is read out some quotes and present our listeners with the information pretty early.
You missed the
Missed
main
it.
thing,
Yes,
man. That
yes,
Zoff was saying,
exactly.
come on. You even went into the last. I was like, oh, he meant last 10 minutes, not 20 minutes. He said it was a mad game week.
I missed.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was a terrible game week, and I actually slept. So the games are at 1:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time. So I slept after 50 minutes, where Sulemana was tearing Lenny Yoro a new one, and I was like, "This doesn't look good." He's playing right wing back, and I woke up in the morning at 7:30. And I saw 3-1. I was like, okay, let's see who scores. Maybe he gets an assist or one goal or something. And I see like he's got 3 goals. And I genuinely for the first time thought that was a dream. Like, I don't think this is possible. I don't think Ahmad's capable of getting 3 goals. I was
I
like, wait.
genuinely considered like giving you a call to wake you up, like after he scored the third one. So it was incredible.
Yeah. Shout out to our boy Mihir, yeah, for captaining him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big
Huge.
one.
But what's up with you guys? Yeah, good week for you guys as well. I think all three of us had
Mid
a
70s
decent
for I
week
think
for a
all of
change.
us.
All
Yeah.
of us, I think it was a week where every player did well. Like there were very few players that actually didn't return. Even people selling Jackson got a return, like every player has done well. So I just think it's one of those where if you hit a huge spike, like an Ahmad return or a Isak captaincy, then the color of your arrow was a lot greener. And if you weren't on that, then if you were Salah captain, for example, it's a red. That's all it was this week.
No, LR got that with a Haaland captain.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he's working on hard mode this year. So
Yeah.
that's why.
Yeah, to be fair though, Haaland had his chances. It was just not a day. That's all.
Before we talk about the team news, let's talk about his 10-year contract. That came out of the blue, right? I don't think anybody expected that. I thought it's just Chelsea doing these absurd things of these long-term contracts. So Haaland is pretty much going to be a factor for us as FPL players for some time now.
Yep. And have you seen his Instagram? It's full of these launch videos, and It's been in the works for a while because they've got 3 or 4 pre-planned videos in place. So I'm just hoping that there's a little bit of a celebration on
He can
Sunday.
still leave. Like I think 2 years later, Pep leaves, he can leave. Like these things matter less now these days. Like how much is Mudryk on? 8 years? He's gonna leave before 8 years.
Probably, yeah. It's not the same thing. But basically his release clause is going to be exorbitant now. That's what it comes in. Cool, let's get into the
Yeah,
team news.
but I'm so like players like this, right? There's almost like an understanding. Like I'm sure there will be like a Real Madrid clause or a Barcelona clause where certain valuations will be subsided if these clubs come knocking at the door or something of that sort. If City is out of the Champions League, they do have such clauses in place for something like this.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's do the team news. A lot of stuff has come in. Let's start first with the news on Cole Palmer. Pras, do you have the exact quotes from Maresca?
So there's one that you shared on WhatsApp, which is the most worrying
I,
one.
I have the full quote. I'll just read it out. So Maresca said, we have Cole, who's not in the session today. Levi was not in the session today. Enzo was not in the session today. Romeo Lavia was not in the session today. We have 3 or 4 players who are doubts for Monday's game because the last game, they had some problems. Cole, first half, they kick him. He didn't train today. We don't know if he's going to train tomorrow or in 2 days. The same situation for Enzo, Romeo, and Levi. So this is what was shared on the Scout website. By the way, if you guys haven't seen it, they do a press conference update article where long quotes are written there, which is quite useful. So, the earlier thing I thought that he was just talking about Cole Palmer, that he's not going to train in the next day or 2 days, but he's referencing to all 4 players and mentioning that we don't know whether it's going to train tomorrow or day after. It's not just Palmer. He's referring to Enzo, Romeo, Levi Colwill, and Cole Palmer.
I mean, I was watching the game, the Bournemouth one, and he was actually tackled quite hard. If you remember, he was on the floor for a while, and then he was limping, and then although he had already scored, so I was like, fine. I mean, if you need to go up. So there was like watching the game, there was a little bit of concern, even when he was coming back into the tunnel at halftime, he was not very happy, sort of. But then when he came back, everybody just assumed he played 90 minutes, he should be okay. But he may still be okay, right? We could be in Isak 2.0 scenario.
Right, it's different from a muscle injury, which we'll talk about SAR, which we talk about hamstring, right? This is more seems like an impact on knock. So I think either he starts or he doesn't play at all. It's a bit different because there's no tension of reoccurrence in his case. And the fact that he played on, I'm quite optimistic he will feature. But the game being on Monday helps, of course. It's not a game that's tomorrow.
Yeah, but it's a feature or is it captain? This is where the problem is. Like, we all knew Isak would feature. We all knew Isak would start, but we all ended up not captaining Isak because we thought, okay, 60, 70 minutes is possible. And then in that case, you have an alternative. So are we in the same scenario where we're now saying, okay, Palmer should feature, Palmer should start, but is João Felix going to come on the 65th minute if they're comfortable? And ironically, both games were home to Wolves, man. Like the game that you want them.
It could happen.
I do think that there's a slight difference between the Isak situation and the Palmer situation. Like, I think Isak, we knew he was going to start. Like, there was a lot more optimism. Here, the fact that we don't know if he's going to train tomorrow or day after gives me some pause.
Yep. And we don't know Maresca is a liar. We know about how he's got the habit of underplaying, etc., injuries, right? Maresca has been pretty honest so far. So they're not necessarily a smoke and mirrors thing. He might actually be a doubt. And like Pras mentioned, a lot of time players, they load up on these pain-killing injections to get through, and that injection starts wearing off usually 60, 70 minutes into a game. So like Pras mentioned, minutes do become a concern.
And like, do you think that the fixture difficulty comes into play? Like, Enzo would think that if there is a game, Maresca would think that there is a game to maybe start him on the bench if he's looking a little iffy. A game like Wolves at home is where he would probably pull something like this off, right?
That being said, we haven't won in the last 5. So we need to get a win on the board. So the desperation level is still quite high.
Fair.
True. Where do we go next?
Sar? Yes, let's cover Sar. He's quite popular. All 3 of us own him. A lot of our listeners obviously do.
I mean, these guys are just helping my benching dilemmas, so I don't mind getting these news. But anyway, let me read out the quote for Sar now. It's a small hamstring issue. Is basically what quote it is. I'm going to bring it up. Sorry, guys, I don't have it in front of me.
I have it. He just says that Sar is a small. Everybody's fine. There's a small question mark with Sar. There's a slight hamstring issue. We will take the final decision tomorrow, and they have the game on Saturday as well. So that's where they are with Sar.
So with a hamstring, all 3 situations are possible. You could miss out entirely, be on the bench, or start. Anything can happen.
They have no replacement on there. Like I don't know if he'll be on the bench as I feel we don't know the extent, right? But I just feel either he's out or he starts because there's nobody else who can start on the right. Like, if you see most games, it's Mateta and Eze who come off because there's Kamada and there's Nketiah. There's literally nobody on the right who replaces Sar.
Probably stick Munoz as right wing and play Klein at right wing back.
I mean, something like that. But I feel cameo risk is less. Either he's ready or he's not ready.
And that's a good fixture naturally. So I think most of us will start him regardless. I don't think you can afford to bench him unless you have a really, really good first sub. And I think even like your Rodgers, for example, is away to Arsenal this week, right?
Yeah.
So it's not even great alternatives on our benches necessarily.
Exactly. And there's a point in the comments on Nketiah. Nketiah hasn't started on the right at all. In fact, that is the reason why Crystal Palace were so rubbish at the beginning. He was trying Nketiah on the right and Mateta up top. Now Nketiah comes on for Mateta. But anyway, of course, it's a one game. Maybe he has to, out of desperation, start Nketiah and Mateta and Eze. But I'm less worried because he does say minor. But you got to...
Yeah. We're guessing.
You have to go with it.
At this point, we'll be going blind into it. But I think if you have him, you start him. It's not where the quotes indicate that we should be benching him. Anything else really relevant?
Cunha has the flu.
Cunha has the flu. Well, very convenient. He's getting sick now. Huh? Couldn't get sick a month ago.
I mean, he has transformed his inner Cunha into Wood now. Although Chris Wood was doing well before as well. But basically, Cunha owners are enjoying the Wood points now, so they don't care.
Yep. And there's something on Diogo Jota as well. I think he missed training yesterday. Slot that he said that he felt a small niggle. That's why he didn't train. Luis Diaz missed training as well, but that was due to a sore throat. So less worrying. I think Diaz should be starting. But the Jota news is disappointing, man. I was quite keen to bring him and add. Go ahead.
I'll just read out the Diaz quote so that listeners to breathe a little sigh of relief, where he says that assume he's fine. Yesterday, he was not allowed to train because he had, I think, a bit of a sore throat, but I assume he'll be training with us today. I still have to hear this, but we're expecting him to train with us today. So that's just sounding like, okay, yeah, he took a day off because of little illness. He should be fine.
Yeah, it's not as worrying as the Jota quote.
Yep.
I mean, we'll have a
I'll
more
read out the Jota
extensive.
quote.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying, let's have an extensive discussion on Liverpool and third Liverpool in that section. But LR, sorry, you were reading the quote.
Yeah, just while we wrap up the conference, because a
Yeah.
lot of people are looking at Jota. This is what Slot said. There's no doubt about the fact that Jota is an important player for us, but he wasn't, like you said, on the training ground yesterday. So that means we have to see where he is today. So it is not sure that he'll be available for tomorrow. We have to wait and see. He felt a bit when he came in, a little niggle during the half hour he came in. He could finish the game, but afterwards he complained a bit about it, and that's why he didn't train yesterday. So it's just like that he felt a little, and they're being a little extra precautious with Jota at the moment.
Absolutely. So I think
Ben White back in training is the only other thing. Of course, he'll be back. He won't start immediately, but he is back in first team training.
Maybe another
That's
3-4
important for
weeks.
timber owners.
Yeah, another 3-4 weeks is when you target. I think because it's a long-term injury. I don't think he'll be back within January.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's get started. Let's start with after our sponsor plug.
As always, all the data that you see on this podcast is from the Fantasy Football Scout members area, and we pulled in some nice data for Liverpool and Everton as we're going to be discussing the double game week for them in the provisional double game week for them in game week 24, which looks 95% likely. So yeah, I reckon that this data is generally something that all three of us refer to on a weekly basis. And if you do want to become a member and get access to this data, do click on the link in the description below.
Cheers. Is the double game week provisional? I thought it was set on stone. Is it dependent on
No.
something still?
Liverpool need to win their
No.
finish in the top 8 of their
So they-
Champions League.
They need 1 point from the next 2 games.
Yeah, which will make them mathematically safe from
Yes.
top 8.
Or other results necessarily going in their favor?
Yeah.
I mean, they will do it anyway. Even if they lose
Yeah.
2, other results could go in their favor. So it's very, very likely.
Okay. I didn't know it was provisional though. I thought it was pretty much decided, but that makes more sense.
Because otherwise that weekend would be for the game if they
I know,
didn't
for
finish in the top
for
8.
the playoffs.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll come back to the Rob T odds a little bit later. Let's just first talk about the upcoming double that's coming up for Liverpool and Everton in 24 and the fixtures leading up to it. So do you guys, first off, let me ask you, do you guys think it's a good entry point for either team this week? Brentford away, Tottenham at home? I'm not so keen on buying this week now.
No, I think 23 for Liverpool is a great entry point. 22 was a good entry point if we had a little more clarity for attack from a team news perspective. You don't mind games at the GTech for your attackers, but there is a little bit of a dodginess when it comes to the news. So I think wait and watch, because what happens is the closer you get to 24, first 2 picks are Salah and Trent. Those are the 2 best 2 picks from the team. And if you're punting for a third pick, which is an attacker, the closer you get to 24, the greater or more accurate you'd hope that your assumptions of expected minutes will be. That's about
Yeah,
it.
exactly this. There's a game between Forest. We are go back. Yeah, exactly. No. Even before this.
I mean, I'll bring up the Lego Mane stuff then.
Yeah. So there is basically a game before Game Week 24 as well, which is the European game. So the point being that ideally, in an ideal world, I would even say that if your team looks good, you don't need to jump on Liverpool even in Game Week 23. You could. It's a home to Ipswich game. But all other attackers also have decent fixtures. So if you look at your team actually in 23, you may not need to do a Gakpo or a Diaz or a Jota. So my specific strategy will be let them play that European game. It could be a dead rubber, by the way. In case they win, they'll secure top 8, or even if they draw this midweek, they'll secure top 8. Watch that lineup and then pick your Liverpool, because you could end up in a scenario where your player could get both games, 1 game, or even 0 starts. Like if you still have Jota, Diaz, Gakpo as the 3, and 2 of them will start. We know that pretty much with certainty. So you might as well wait for the European game. Let's say Gakpo misses that. Then you have quite good clarity that he's going to start the weekend. And the other thing, which the chart you were sharing, is there are 2 games in the middle, but very nicely placed is that FA Cup game, which is the easy game against Plymouth Argyle. you'd again expect that the first team doesn't start that one. So you can actually predict the minutes based after Europe a lot better.
Show that chart, Zoph, just so that I think listeners will get clarity if they see that.
This one. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they have, after Bournemouth, they will play Spurs. Wait, is it? No, so
Yes,
Bournemouth is the first game.
Correct.
Bournemouth is the first game. Then they will play Spurs in the Carabao Cup semi-final. Then they play Plymouth Argyle in the round 4 of the FA Cup. And then they have the Everton game. So there will be 2 games in the middle. So the first reaction will be, man, that's so much spacing. That's bad for my team. But actually, in some ways, it's not too bad because somebody like a Trent is not playing Plymouth. Salah is not playing Plymouth. So there is actually increased expected minutes for some of these players.
The one thing I wanted to mention, Pras, in 23, Liverpool are the early kickoff. there's no 12:45 kickoff. There's straight 3 p.m. And so there you have some advantage because we do get Liverpool lineup leaks before deadline quite often. So there you say you get some sort of indication. There is the upside, right, to attack Ipswich.
So that's worth mentioning in this spot because what is happening is a lot of people are going to go into Liverpool players on Saturday or Sunday if they see a Jota or somebody start and then score a goal or two and they're going to see that rise. It's important, or there could be some value to waiting until the Saturday of Game Week 23 because it's the first game. So you could get team news. So this piece of information right now.
Exactly. That's why we like 23 much more as an entry point. And even for Everton, we'll talk about Everton a little bit. You want to see a bit more what they're going to do. The Tottenham game is a big one, especially I was listening to above average. Now Tottenham fans are getting a bit fed up of Ange now. That Everton game is a big one. If he loses that, he might be in trouble. So should we touch upon Everton right at the top or should we jump straight to Liverpool?
And I think while we're discussing fixtures, I just want to do a little bit of chip strategy. I covered it on the team selection video I did as well. But I think it's a good point to have that conversation. If you can go to the fixtures of just these two teams off.
Sure. That's where we were. This one.
So I want to know what you guys think. And I think the first thing we'll discuss is the assistant manager chip for people that have maybe already used the triple captaincy chip, etc. as well. Now, there are two things that I think if you're buying Liverpool in either 22 or 23, they're a buy for a good while, just by value of or virtue of them being Liverpool. But even after 24, the fixtures are great. They've got 3 home games after 24. They've got Wolves at home, Newcastle United at home, and Southampton at home. And the away games are also decent from an attacking point of view. So the fixtures are looking good until 30, 31, 32. In fact, the tough fixtures for Liverpool start around 33 onwards. So that's the thing with
33
Liverpool.
might be a double.
Exactly. And for Everton, this is not the case. After 24, the fixtures for Everton are pretty tough. They've got Crystal Palace away, United home, Brentford away. Only 28 and 29 are sort of decent fixtures. So if you're going for Everton picks, I don't like the idea of going for a Pickford. I much prefer somebody who you can hide on the bench in your team. Somebody like a Mikolenko, somebody like an Ndiaye, who's a cheap striker that you can play around as an 8th attacker, right? That's what my thinking is with Everton assets. I don't want to use up prime slots for them. Now coming to the chip strategy, what do you guys think about, because the assistant manager chip is going to be available for managers, and from a safe manager point of view, they've got 2 decent games in Bournemouth away and Everton away. You've got a nice game in Wolves at home, but I think people that are using it, the assistant manager chip on slot in 24, I think you would like twist in Gameweek 26 and go for a game where you have like a +5 position bonus opportunity available. Like if I was playing the assistant manager chip, I would make sure I have a transfer bank, because I don't think there's much upside in using slot against a City where you're not even going to get a bonus for the 5+ spaces. You would want to make that switch in Gameweek 26 if you're going that way.
You would use it on Pep. Pep is 6th. Liverpool is 1st. There's table bonus.
I'll just have a look at the fixtures that week. I think that's the one that does appeal, because Villa play Chelsea pretty close in the table. City, Liverpool, like you mentioned, there are 5 places. Newcastle, Forest, there's not much.
McKenna versus Spurs at home. I like
that's
that.
An interesting one.
That's the one that stood out to me. And Glasner versus Fulham away, if the difference is big.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is City may climb. So you may play the chip assuming you will get table bonus, and then they will not be 5 places. So this is where the dynamic aspect of this comes. Shall I complicate it even more, for a little bit more?
Why not?
Yes.
That's what we're here for.
So one thing we didn't discuss last week is there is a chance that Spurs have a double in 25. Have you guys heard about this?
Yes, you mentioned
Yes.
it last pod.
Yeah, but now I'll explain why, and actually why it's so complicated. So I won't explain why it can fit in that double. The short story is because if Spurs reach the final of the Europa League and the Carabao Cup, and one of Spurs or Villa make the final of the FA Cup, then Spurs only have 2 free midweeks but 3 postponements. Because Game Week 37 is when the Europa League final happens. So that's a long story. So there is a small chance that the Premier League decide that, look, Spurs might reach the final, so we should be proactive. And just like Liverpool, Spurs could also have 2 free midweeks. Just like, they could also finish top 8 in the Europa League, they will also have 2 free midweeks. So there is a chance that we could have an announcement saying that should Spurs win their Carabao Cup game against Liverpool or make it to the final, their game against Fulham will be in Game Week 25. So that's the first thing to remember. So if it was a double-double, I think you close your eyes and you play the assistant manager chip. But this is where the complication is. When you will enter the deadline for Game Week 24, you will know that there's a provisional announcement for Spurs. But then Spurs lose to Liverpool and then it goes away. Fugazi, it goes in the air. So you play the assistant manager chip thinking that Spurs could have a double, but you're taking like a gamble that Spurs actually make it through. And that's where the tricky part comes in. So I would still, in my case, having thought about this, I would take the gamble. Because then I would either get a double-double, so I would go from Slot to to Postecoglou, and then I would go to somebody else like Pep, if that exists. And if not, then I will just do the path that LR was talking about. Keep Slot for 2 weeks and then move to somebody else. But at least it gives me some upside, and that's the thinking. But you should know that you could do it, and actually the Spurs double doesn't happen.
You would want the
safety
provisional
net is the
announcement
Wolves
for
game.
that, right? Sorry, Elara, I'm just asking, do you want the provisional announcement for that, right?
You have to have the provisional. You can't just assume. But this week, when Spurs will play their Europa League game, if there was to be a provisional announcement, it would happen after that. So we would get it before Game Week 24 for sure. Absent any provisional announcement, I'm not touching my assistant manager chip, especially as somebody who doesn't have to use it. There's 2 more doubles to come. I want to use one of them for assistant manager, one of them for bench boost.
Right. That's the point I wanted to get. Go ahead.
As somebody who's not looking to use it, I am happy for people to take it on in 24. Like, I think there's way more upsides. As somebody who's currently chasing rank, I'm happy for people to chance it. And because I don't think Bournemouth away and Everton away are easy games for Slot. Like, there is every chance there isn't much of a ceiling for those fixtures. So I'm happy. Let people take it on. But like Pras said, if that provisional announcement is there, then you get really, really tempted because you want 5 games then. You want 5 shots at the...
Then we'll be reconsidering the triple captain, Elara.
Yeah.
We might want to play the AM over the TC.
Because if you keep your triple captaincy for 33, you get Salah versus Leicester as one of the triple captain games. So there is actually a play. So if I had my triple captaincy, I would think about it a lot more. I don't have it, so I will basically say, fair enough, I will not be playing it unless there's a provisional Spurs double announcement.
Cool.
And this is... Actually, the provisional Spurs announcement will come because I can't say that this is unlikely because like Spurs versus Liverpool is happening or will happen after the provisional announcement. So and the odds of this are a little low, right? As far as
like 37% are the odds for Spurs to go to the final.
Okay.
So you're making a 37-63 bet.
The odds for the Premier League to be proactive and actually have a provisional announcement
10%.
are sort of exactly. That's what I wanted to say. So people don't need to worry too much about this because it's likely and unlikely event. That's all.
But my point is, it won't happen without the provisional announcement because the time period is too short.
Yeah.
If there's
So that's what I was saying. I think
there has to
that
be
you
some
don't even
sort
need to
of
think about it unless there's a provisional announcement.
Right. Cool. Got it.
But outside of that, let's say no provisional announcement. How do you guys feel of the assistant manager chip?
Do you think there'll be better opportunities to use it, Pras?
I think there's 2 better opportunities. There's the best one for me is Game Week 36, 37, 38. The second best is 30, 31, 32, 33. Those are the 2 good ones. Because I feel like you don't have all the information, right? If you're committing to Game Week 24 assistant manager, you're doing it before the Carabao Cup, knowing the Carabao Cup finalists, and before the FA Cup 4th round and the 5th round draw, because you're committed to the chip, even though that information comes before Game Week 25. I would rather know all the information, find the best week for it, and then do all the chips. Like this was the first thing I said when I did that video on chip strategy. The assistant manager chip is the most powerful chip. You should find the best window for that. Everything else should follow, rather than the other way around. So I'm not going to play it blind. It's just such a powerful chip.
Yep. And it's important we have the discussion because people need to know whether to leave that third Liverpool slot open, pun intended.
But you could if there's a provisional announcement, which is why when you said you want to buy a Liverpool player this week, I would have said, wait, don't do it this week. Let the Spurs Europa League game happen. So at least minimum wait for Gameweek 23 because you may decide to play the chip.
Makes a lot more sense. Shall we dive
And
into
for the
some
more
Liverpool?
courageous managers who are looking at that slide only. Who are maybe looking at using it on a Moyes. Like there's a nice fixture against Leicester at home, and then you've got a bonus game against Liverpool where if he wins, he gets 8 points for a draw, which is more than what Slot would get for a win. The thing is, as things stand, the gap between Everton and the next two opponents in 26 and 25 and 26 isn't 5 places. That said, the fixtures that Crystal Palace and United have in the next 3 or 4 games, it could become +5 by that time. So just wanted to state that as a point of information for people that are chasing. You would want to see how Moyes' team does against Spurs and Brighton before taking an instinctive call in 24. That's all.
Agreed.
I'm not very optimistic though. Everton were quite poor this weekend.
I mean,
Yeah, but
Rob
it's
T
like
had
2 days for Moyes.
Yeah, we don't know the true Moyes. But Rob T had an excellent thread yesterday, so people should check it out on Twitter or on Blue Sky, where he's basically, to summarize the whole thing, there are 2 types of managers you want to target, or 2 types of opportunity windows. One is a smashing, like Liverpool is playing Ipswich, or even worse, let's say Southampton, and so you want to basically tap into a 5-0, where you get 5 points for the goals, you get a clean sheet, and you get the win. Or you want to go for that 0.8 bracket of managers, which is basically Glasner, it is your Villa, Amorim, it is Emery, it is, I think, one more guy. These are the guys which could have a false position. And so based on form, so I think if you look at Game Week 31 to 34 window, both Emery and Glasner have nice table bonus fixtures. So 31 to 34, no, sorry, is it 31 to 33? Those are nice bonus fixtures, table bonus fixtures. But this is where the variance element comes into it, right? It's a bit like betting. Sometimes when you see odds for Liverpool playing Everton, there are 2 types of people. They're the ones that go for the favorites, and then they are the contrarians. The contrarians are hoping to be right 2 out of 10 times, and the ones that are the popular ones are hoping to be right 8 out of 10 times. Your expected value is the same in both cases. It's just your style. What you want to do. Do you want to chance it? Do you want to chance to get lucky? And this chip allows you to do that.
Anything further on chip strategy, guys? Otherwise, let's talk about some Liverpool picks.
Triple captaincies off. Are you looking at using it on 24?
Again, it all depends on like what Pras said. If I don't get any form of provisional announcement, I don't see a better opportunity. I mean, there will be, but I just want to get it out of the way in 24. And I think both of them are perfectly good fixtures.
From an attacking point of view, I don't mind it. Again, It's not the best. You would want like a Wolves at home or a Southampton at home as a part of the double. But it's not the case. But he's the best player and the best FPL asset this season. You're going to get 180 minutes of Mo Salah. I think that's enough because we will need the other chips for the future double game weeks, right? We'll run out of doubles, right, Pras?
Yeah, you have 2 more doubles left. But if you are looking to bench boost in one of them and assistant manager in another one, that you will run out.
Exactly. Cool.
I mean, it's just mind games, of course. As a non-triple captainer, I have to play in your minds. So guys, I mean, are you not worried that he will play that Spurs game in the Carabao Cup, gets a niggle? Are you not worried that the weather, Andy Martin has been saying there's a snowstorm coming in that period? Are those things? Have you taken those into account?
Absolutely. If Andy Martin says that it's a bad pick and there's a snowstorm, and if he tweets it, then I'll go for it because he has certain magical powers that work in the opposite direction as well.
Yes. For those that don't know, he was basically tweeting on the 80th minute, I think, that Ahmad is a terrible pick. How can you pick Ahmad instead of Rodgers? How? So that was the first goal. Then he tweeted, "Thank God, Ahmad has scored 1. Now their owners will keep." Then he scored the second goal. So basically, that was the Andy Martin reverse curse.
There's even a possibility that Liverpool will not have any other doubles, right? Let's say if they go out of both of the cup competitions. I know, low probability, but that is a possibility, right?
Yeah, it is possible.
Yeah. In which case, I want to triple captain Salah this season, so makes sense. Done here? Chip strategy done?
Yeah, just to say last word, it is only after game week 24 cup results, then actually people can start thinking about, are you free hitting in 29? Are you free hitting in 34? What are you doing? This is just very high level at this stage and more focused towards what we're doing in 24 rather than what's beyond that.
So the Liverpool picks, guys, how much time should we spend on this? Because again, we spoke about them not buying this week, but I think you still need to keep certain picks in mind on the radar. I think again, let's look at the table over here. This is now data for the entire season. We see Salah is right on top, Diaz in second, and Szoboszlai in third. Trent, obviously the pick of the defenders. Jota's numbers are good, given the minutes he's played. But as of now, if we were picking carte blanche, I think all of us would be in agreement over the top two, Salah and Trent. The debate is more on the third one and also whether to go in attack or in defense. That's where we are. Would that be accurate?
Yeah.
So let's talk first. Like, Pras, what do you like? You prefer your third guy in defense or in attack?
See, again, it's a very complicated question because if you look at game week 24, if you look at the fixtures, right? Our defenses, the popular players that we have in defense are actually terrible because Arsenal is playing Man City, who are Fulham playing, they're away to Newcastle, who are Crystal Palace playing, they're away to Man United. Now, okay, Man United, I don't want to get into this, whether it's hard or not. But when you look at your defense, it actually looks really bad in game week 24. So I would say if you wanted to optimize your team for expected points, you should be getting a Liverpool defender and a Everton defender because those are playable 2 games in the actual week where you need them. Because otherwise Munoz is playable, Robinson is playable, Gabriel is playable, Trent is playable. So that's where I think a lot of people may go there because it just makes sense to do it. But then remove all of that and say, where is the upside? Of course, the upside is in the attackers. So attackers do appeal, but I want to be super cautious about which attacker I want to go for. And this is why I had mentioned I'm going to wait till game week 24 after the European games and then take an assessment on who my third Liverpool should be.
Great point on other fixtures, other teams not having. I didn't notice that. Very, very important point that it might force people to just gain more EV by going for a defender at that point. But if I can help it, I'm just looking for an opportunity to buy Diogo Jota. The long story short version of that is that I trust him more than any other Liverpool attacker in that team. So I'm just looking for an opportunity to get him. So I'm hoping he's fit by the time. So my case is if it looks like he's fine for 23, I might jump the gun on him in 23 and chance to get a brace against Ipswich at home as well. But if even he's looking iffy for 23, then I'm waiting to play the long game like process and decide in 24.
Because Gakpo is the one that seems to be popular from the streams I've seen from the other content creators, and he's had a lot of starts to back it up, but I don't know how much we can take from that while Jota was out. I was listening to some pods from the Liverpool guys this week, and it's quite unanimous that they need Jota as a centre forward. They're not very happy with what Diaz offers in that role. So again, once he gets back to speed, gets back to full fitness, I think he's going to be the one playing through the middle, and it'll be Diaz and Gakpo competing on the left.
And you know what? I think Gakpo, this perception, I'm just calling it right now, this perception of Gakpo being first choice in the left is a false perception. If I was to guesstimate who eventually will be first choice, it will be the same first choice that was at the start of the season, where Liverpool probably played one of the best football was Diaz, Jota, and Salah. The reason that Gakpo started a lot on the left is because Diaz has started a lot of the center. But once Jota starts center, I don't think it's like, I don't even think Gakpo has a 60% edge over Diaz at the moment. I think actually, gut instinct, I think Diaz might be more favored in that position. But you just don't know at the moment. But I think Gakpo could easily be a trap.
I agree. It's very form dependent also as well, right?
Yes.
Diaz especially seems quite streaky.
Opponent dependent as well, right? We sometimes miss, we just look at minutes. Like Slot thinks about who the left back is. What does he want? Is it a false 9? Is it not a false 9? Does he need speed from the left? Does he need control on the left? Like there is so much here that honestly people are just guessing. You're basically saying I want a player that should play 100 minutes, 100 to 130 minutes. Because even if your player starts, there are a lot of 59, 60 minute subs here. So you're basically saying I want this player for 100 to 130 minutes. So you can, wait until the last minute and basically increase that threshold to become more on the 130 side than the 100 side. You can have the argument that Jota can come on and still score, so who cares? But all of that, when I then take into account the fact that there's already so many other good attackers, I'm not feeling the attacker thing, man. Like maybe I've been burnt by both Diaz and Jota this year, so I'm not there. And the last thing is, it's a very long-term planning thing. When I get my Liverpool player, you showed the fixtures LR in the beginning. I want a Liverpool player for a long time. I don't want a fling. I want a marriage with the third Liverpool until potentially game week 33 double.
But
so therefore,
who
again,
can you identify like that process? Konate,
Van Dijk.
and
Alisson
Alisson?
or Van Dijk. Yeah,
That's pretty much it.
yeah. Those are the three that I'm looking at.
But again, they're not all very low upside picks, right? And again, all expensive bar Konate.
I don't mind
scores a
Van Dijk
header
as a
every
pick.
double.
Yeah. I don't mind Van Dijk as a pick. Alisson, you still dependent on saves, etc. Van Dijk, I don't mind because there is that corner potential still there.
What I was looking at now.
Plus,
let's
you
say
had a good result with Van Dijk in a double, right? If I remember correctly.
Dude, it was a long story last season. You remember they were They were not announcing the double, the Liverpool one, the postponed one. And so on Saturday morning, I sold Trent because they were not announcing the double. And then I sold him, and then they announced the double. So then instead of Trent, I got Van Dijk back last season, and Van Dijk scored a header in that double. So
I remember this,
I do have history with him.
Yeah. Go on, so sorry.
So what I was mentioning is, if you're buying an attacker, let's say in 23, I think there is a chance you get at least 3 out of 4, because again, you have to keep in mind the Wolves fixture is actually going to be pretty close to the Everton one. But then what they have is they have a free midweek after the game before they play Man City. Man City, you can expect obviously full strength. And my point is, the guys who are playing against Everton could very likely play Wolves, because there'll be a free midweek on the other side of that as well.
It's fair shout. Very possible.
Yeah.
There is upside there for sure. There is no denying it. It's a case of what do you like? Do you want stability? You don't want to commit a second transfer to take that player out for low ceiling but low base? Or do you want that spike? Do you want that spike of a haul in one of those 4, or 2 hauls in one of those 2 of those 4?
Because let's look at which teams have a bad fixture, let's say in 24, the guys we have, let's say in midfield. Like, let's say if you want to move off a Gordon. Gordon has Fulham at home that week, and then Man City and Forest. I think you could potentially do a Gordon to Jota move in that sense. Let's say look at Chris Wood you have if you want to move off to Gakpo. Forest have Brighton, Fulham, Newcastle just starting for this week. Again, a decent exit point for Chris Wood also over there. So you have options you can sell in both positions for your Liverpool attackers.
You too. But I would not be playing Wood that week. I have other good 7 attackers. So it is a little bit team dependent. But yeah, there are certain
Wood's fixtures get trickier even after that, right? You have the Newcastle away, etc. etc. You can make a case for it.
Yes, absolutely. You can.
So I guess there's not your point discussing the underlying numbers. We pretty much know who the guys are. Yeah. I guess the minutes one, we know that Jota has the highest upside when he gets the minutes. Salah obviously is bulletproof. Some talk of Soboslai on our Discord, but it just feels like a flaky pick to me. It's probably not the 4th or 5th Liverpool pick to go for. I think they're much better picks in midfield in general. You just look outside of Liverpool over there. You guys agree?
Agreed.
Yeah. In fact, just like if you're willing to go in the minutes bracket and are looking for one of the CMs, if you've been watching Liverpool for the last 4 or 5 games, I'd say McAllister has looked more threatening than Soboslai. He's making some darting runs into the box and is finding some good positioning. And he's actually had got decent underlying stats in the last 6-7 weeks as well. So I wouldn't recommend it. I would say go for a first front 3 attacker, even if it's a minutes risk, or go for Van Dijk. But if you're picking Soboslai, look at McAllister's numbers. That's all I'll say.
Okay,
and you have to look at it as a pair. Like Zoph, like you had mentioned this Gordon point, right? So let's say you sell Gordon before Fulham because it's a good exit point for later. But you have to compare Gordon, Fulham at home, plus Van Dijk playing double versus a Robinson who you'll play away to Newcastle, plus Jota. I think that's basically how people should think about it, taking into context the point that defenders are actually terrible that way. That's basically the thinking that I have. I know it's boring, but I do think we should also be saying that also getting a defender is not the end of the world, or even 2. Like,
correct. I get your point, but for example, somebody like me who has a Mikalenko, it's a bit different. Because let's say you're never going to bench a Gabriel, for example. Yeah. He's home to Man City that week, can get a header, etc. You never bench him. Already, let's say you have Trent. The third guy is Mikalenko.
Then play Mikalenko. Beautiful.
Then you play Mikalenko. Then the attacker guy becomes more. Then you consider the assmanship, or you consider the third attacker.
Correct. Yeah, I'm with you.
Good point on the defense though, Pras, because long-term point of view, plus replaceability point of view makes sense.
Yes, because again, the hop-off for Fulham, also the fixtures get a bit trickier after.
Correct.
So
I want to do Robinson to an Everton defender. That's also in the plan. But we'll talk about Everton now.
like Everton, like LR said, you have to hide them later on. That's why it gets trickier.
Correct.
Anything more on these teams, guys, or should we start just looking at some results from midweek?
Just a quick point on Everton. If you could have the
Positions?
team chart, Mohan's, yeah. Just want to mention that somebody who should be on your scouting list is Doucouré when it comes to Everton, because Moyes does like to play somebody in the Tim Cahill or Fellaini role. Like even Soucek under West Ham did well under Moyes. And Doucouré has good pedigree as a goal scorer. So if you're in the market for a cheap midfielder, if you want to replace one of your stars, etc. in the future, just keep an eye on Doucouré in the next 2 games, because he tends to play sort of attacking. And Ndiaye is obviously an option up front. And their wingbacks are much better under Moyes than they were under Dash, because he does give them a lot more attacking license. He plays with a stronger double pivot, and his wingbacks do get some more attacking license. That's all I just wanted to say in terms of Moyes.
Alagedhan in the chat makes a good point relating to the defense. Greaves has Southampton home in 24. Also playable. I know, not great, but just something we should...
I'm not playing Greaves over Munoz or Robinson. But it's a point, yeah. You have some bench.
Shout out to Ipswich, though. They've improved a lot defensively. They genuinely have improved a lot defensively.
Yep. I didn't catch any of the Thursday games yet, so I have to go back and watch that. The XG didn't seem very high for Brighton from the stats.
A lot of shots from outside the box.
He's smartened up, McKenna. Yeah, let's look back at some of the results and do our quick takeaways. Let's start first with Brentford, Man City. Did you watch this one, Ella?
I did.
And?
I was sad watching the game. What else do you want me to say?
Why didn't Haaland score, Eldar? Come on.
He had a couple of chances, but didn't take them. But in general, there is a little bit, because he's playing the front 4 or 5 games in a row now. There's a clear first choice front 4 with De Bruyne, Haaland, Foden on the right, and Savio on the left. It's the more you watch City, the more team chemistry is getting built in attack week on week. That said, they still have the same problems in terms of being open in defense, but in attack, there's just increased fluidity week on week. And they do tend to, sort of deter in the last 20-30 minutes of a game, where this loss of concentration, or people know that they're there for the taking, they will concede those chances, which is why they threw away this game. They had a 2-0 lead. They threw it away.
Yep. So Brentford in the first half had only 0.3 XG, and second half they had way more in terms of shots on target, XG, everything. So City definitely in the end, they did a segment on Match of the Day also. The press just wasn't there for City in the second half, but this new guy the defenders aren't so much of a concern to me, but the new guy who's coming, Marmoush, whose spot do you think he's going to take?
We don't know at the moment. Don't know. I think it's an Alvarez replacement of sorts.
KDB backup initially. Pep always bets them in over like months, right? Initially, they don't start a lot.
Yeah. Just want to mention that even though the 0.3 XG is what Brentford showed in the first half, there's a couple of occasions where Wissa almost found Boomer. Boomer almost found Wissa. The ball was like maybe a foot or two back or front. So, they did create there was a lot of almost chances where the last action was just a little off. So, Brentford attackers look great irrespective.
What about Phil Foden? 2 goals now. He loves playing clearly at the G-Tech Stadium. He's getting some sort of form back now. At 9 plus, he's still a bit expensive. The fixtures are drying up for Man City, so no go.
If you had the points, enjoy them, but it's time to say goodbye soon.
After the Ipswich fixture.
After Ipswich, I'm telling LR also to sell Haaland. It's time. Party's finished. Or whatever version of party that was. But it's finished.
Yep.
Tempted by a farewell captaincy?
He's my captain as things stand after the Palmer news.
I like it. But yeah, Brentford, I think you're obviously waiting a week now. After the Liverpool game is when you start attacking Brentford. I think both Wissa and Boomo are becoming much
I'll just say that if Sarr looks like, if the Sarr news sort of develops and we get information that he might be out, then I might have a decision in terms of selling Sarr and then getting one of Boomo or Gordon this week. And I might just get the head start on Boomo. So that's a decision for me if Sarr does look like he's out. I don't have a 8th attacker. It's Dibbling, who's an injury out himself.
You have money left over or what?
That's what I was going to ask. It's just a shock to hear. Haaland, money left over?
But I have 3 free transfers, so I'll see what I can do.
You're saying you'll sell Haaland this week or Captain Haaland this week, basically.
There are other ways. I'll see.
Just checking.
But yeah, actually, you talk about the Haaland thing, right? A lot of the enablers actually have worked. You see, Roger's been delivering points, Ahmad has been delivering points. If Haaland could have actually been scoring, Ella, like for example, we talked about us taking diverging paths. The points difference has not been that much. Imagine if Haaland had gotten another 15, 20 points. Just
if
bad
I
luck,
captain Isak this week, it would have been game. The thing is, I needed Ahmad and Sarr to keep pace with your Gordon and Boomos, and thankfully in the last 10 minutes of yesterday, it happened. So I'm fine.
Yeah, the enablers have come through. Just the problem is the template is so strong now. There's no reason to look to investing in Haaland. There are enablers there if you need to go for like a top 3.
But you
Yeah,
see,
I
LR
saw-
had a very good Haaland team. That's what people forget. That there's so many Haaland, like we got a super chat from Pulkit above, right? He messaged last weekend on Discord that shall I get Isak for a hit? I was like, Isak, where have you been? So he was like, oh, I'm one of those Haaland owners that don't have Isak. Imagine how much pain they have had. That's like double pain. They first didn't have Cunha because of Haaland, then they didn't have Isak. I think LR's Haaland team has been fabulous.
It's unlucky that he himself hasn't delivered. His pricing
I've
will
been
be
taking
interesting.
on the main striker that I've actually been taking on with Haaland. It's not like a big hitter or anything of that sort. The biggest loss has been the overperformance of Cunha and Wood versus Haaland. Like that's been the biggest points disparity in my situation. It's not been anything else. It's not been the captaincy. Like Salah won one week, Haaland won the other week. It's not been that. It's genuinely been the overperformance of Cunha and Wood versus Haaland. That's what's held me back.
And Gordon Bumo, maybe Trent
Yeah, but
one
like,
week.
my enablers haven't done too bad. My defenders, with Trent, I've had Arsenal defense, which cleaned triple defense, which cleaned on a few occasions where people didn't have clean sheets. So that's kept
Yeah.
pace.
Yeah, it's true.
It's been this.
It's the thing with Haaland's price tag. You just feel so tempted to captain him all the time. That becomes a sort of an albatross on your neck.
I still don't think he's a bad captaincy option. It's just because people
He's
don't.
never a bad captaincy option. Just he
Yeah.
hasn't been delivering. That's my point.
But you're doing this, LR. Like you said, Ipswich has improved. Why are you captaining Haaland, not Salah then? If Palmer is out.
Because I am chasing. I'm playing FPL. Like I'm chasing.
That's
I
fair.
am
That's
ambitious. I'm sitting at 1.2 million and I want to fast track my way to 500k to get a shot of entering the 100k, which is why I'm playing FPL. I don't want to be a passive manager. I'm an active FPL manager who will roll the dice, and that's what I'm willing to do.
That's a great answer. That's what I was basically saying.
Yeah.
Move on to the next game.
Yeah.
Chelsea, Bournemouth, the Nico Jackson fixture. Full disclosure, I have sold Nico Jackson.
Dude, he was amazing in the game. Yeah,
He
I mean, I'm
was.
sure you watched it.
It's really no wonder that I don't have any hair, man, being a Chelsea fan, the way things have been going. I mean, so the thing is that the third striker spot in my team is cursed. Game week 2, it became Muniz. Then Muniz became DCL. DCL became Strand Larsen, and Strand Larsen has now become Jackson. So pretty much now I've just bought Chris Wood just to take one for the team, ruin Chris Wood
Of
for
course,
everyone,
Chris Wood.
and
Thanks.
get Jackson back to scoring ways. Just had to do it. And it also afforded me exact cash to go from Sarr to Jota, which was on my mind, which I probably won't do this week now with the news, but might still do in 23. But yeah, Chelsea in general, first half, we were quite good. And like you mentioned on Twitter Plus, this could have been like the Brighton game if we took our chances. But the
So
second
many
half,
open clear chances first half.
but this has been a trend.
Palmer
with
was in
Chelsea
the
with
mood.
The last few games, the second half, we've been very, very poor. I don't know what it is, especially the 45 to 60th period. We've always ended up conceding. I don't know if the team is running out of legs. It could be that Palmer was carrying that injury. He wasn't at his full, because Palmer, again, the underlying data has been so poor the last few weeks. He's had 7 shots in the box in the last 6 matches. Just that he's so ruthlessly efficient. Every time he shoots in the box, he scores. But
Also, you give some credit to Bournemouth, right? They're not an easy opposition. Like Iraola will adjust his tactics in the second half, and they will play a different
First
way
half, though,
to
I think they
give.
struggled a little bit without the lack of a
Exactly.
focal point. The pressing up front was lacking, but second half, much better. We couldn't handle
That's
the
what I was
pressing
talking
is
about.
so intense.
Like you said that right? Chelsea might have lost energy. Iraola also adjusted. So like it's a good team with a good manager. So that can
Yeah.
also just
Yeah.
influence the game.
Which is why I think none of us are even considering Isak, apart from the Gandhi thing on Saturday. Are you guys looking at Isak as captain against Bournemouth?
No, he's not in my top 3 picks. I was actually pretty bullish on Palmer. I thought he was the captain to own. Like Wolves versus 4 return game at the start of the season as well. And like Wolves, I mean, Newcastle dominated Wolves, so he would have been a great captaincy option. But it's just not Palmer now. Enzo, Colville, and Lavia all having niggles sort of has a ripple effect on that Chelsea team.
Yep.
Anything else to talk about here?
Semenyo, Pras said
Semenyo.
he's going to be a
Zoph lifted the curse of Semenyo by selling him, and he double returned. And Semenyo's fixtures are great. You pointed out in your team selection video, LR, which Eno pointed out to you. They are good buys after 26.
Yeah. The semen's out, man.
Short turnaround. Nobody will hear that.
West Ham, Fulham.
I do have a thing to say about this game. Like
ahead.
this was like the unluckiest lucky game in odd sorts of ways, and it's sort of just very finely evened out in favor of Robinson owners. But like firstly, Fulham didn't deserve to concede 3 goals. They gifted 2 goals. Leno gifted one of them, and just gifted one of them. The shot count at the end of the game was 24 to Fulham, 4 to West Ham. So there wasn't. West Ham didn't create much in this game. You know, if you're judging Potter by the scoreline, West Ham didn't create much. It's just that they gave one genuine chance to West Ham, and that's about it. Outside of that, they didn't create much. But both these assists that Robinson got were just as lucky as you could hope to be. That's all.
It's incredible that it happened twice.
Yeah.
You both had him, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Incredible. Incredible. Well, I won't say much then, but yeah, non-owners, that was very, very triggering. But I can't be complaining about luck. So I mean, Robinson's a good pick regardless.
But there's something about your bench, huh, Pras? Like I want to know the average points of your first and second bunch. When we're just like bored, we should do that as an activity.
But we'll talk about it end season. Like I'll have more bench points, but also think about how many transfers it saves. Like Sarr is out, no worries. Palmer is out, no problem.
I think it's great FPL management. I'm just talking about the banter side where we just want to know
It
because
doesn't
like
even bother me now, right? Honestly, like it.
Yeah, you formed up to that. Like you become immune to that.
In fact, I got lucky this week because of the Pedro news. I was going to bench Wood as well, home to Liverpool. So I ended up benching Pedro instead. So I got a little lucky. I would have way more bench points otherwise.
Yep.
So early takeaways that Potter, I think, needs some more time. We couldn't really see much in that game. I think, like you mentioned, there are a lot of shots for Fulham. We should be bullish on our Palace assets this week, which is why we spoke right at the top of the pod. If you have Sarr, you start him.
Also, you know what Munoz, right? They're missing. I mean, they're probably going to have Danny Ings play up front. They're missing Antonio. They're missing Bowen. Crescencio Somerville is on the edge. He might or might not play. So they're missing a lot of their important attackers. One person who did stand out a little bit is Paqueta. Keep an eye on him.
He played through the middle.
Yeah.
And will be on pens like him.
But I think West Ham will buy a forward this window. In fact, they're linked with Rodrigo Muniz, who just played against them. I think that would be an interesting one because it makes Jimenez obviously a lot more attractive. Something we
makes
need to
both actually good picks. One of those, both will become.
Muniz becomes a good pick in Fulham. Absolutely, good point there.
I mean, one important point for West Ham, which we didn't cover in the double game week part for Liverpool, and ironically, he's very, very important. He's a crucial part of who you pick from Liverpool or Everton is Fabianski. So here's the thing: a lot of people have Fabianski as their reserve keeper. We need to know if Fabianski is going to be the first choice or not. Areola has not been in the squad in the last 2 game weeks, so we don't know. Is he injured or what's up with him?
He's injured. The quote came out yesterday.
So if he comes back and he takes first place again of Fabianski, then people going Alisson won't have a keeper in game week 29. So if somebody is thinking about that, it makes your keeper decisions. Like if Pickford loses, if Fabianski loses his place, then Pickford becomes a better option if you wanted to go for an Everton defense. So Pickford-Konate combination becomes better than an Alisson, Mikolenko or an Alisson Tarkowski combination. This is at least in my head. So this knowing what the situation is with Fabianski is very important from that regard.
West Ham play Everton away that week, which is a decent clean sheet fixture.
Playable. And actually West Ham have good fixtures even before that. They have Leicester at home. So again, if you went for a Pickford Fabianski and Fabianski was nailed, actually that rotation isn't too bad either. So it would be nice if Fabianski is nailed.
Move on to Forest Liverpool.
Yeah.
Again, 1 shot, 1 goal for Chris Wood.
But what a performance, right, from Forest. Genuinely good performance. It's like Liverpool started purring or doing much in the last 20 minutes of that game. Outside of that, Forest were giving them a run for their money. Like those defenders, Rio and Milinkovic, amazing. Just amazing.
Yeah. And the midfield also, they're just not giving up chances. And like we mentioned, although Liverpool did have a host of chances at the end, Sells did very well to keep them out.
There was that 20-minute period when they went mad. Like I was like, Liverpool are definitely scoring, and Salah also went mad. Like that goal line clearance, and yeah, they had a lot of chances. Gakpo could have scored.
Anything else to take away?
Ilanga is on a bit of a hot run. I think 5 returns in 5 games. Just something to monitor. That's it. Forest picks are not picks at the moment.
Because the fixtures do toughen up. And again, with the cheapy mids, I think what have we learnt? Just stick with the ones you got.
Yep.
Exactly.
Although Enzo, I think we pretty much could move off now. Of all the other guys, Ahmad, Rogers and all look better. And one thing we should mention, Forest now plays Southampton next. There's this trend that's emerging of right wingers plundering points against Southampton. Whoever plays on the right. There's been Boomo, you have Ahmad recently, and I think read a thread with some other guys. So who plays on the right for Forest? Ilanga, right?
Yeah. I do want to say that if Dibling is fit, there's been a little bit of a team chemistry that Southampton have found in their front three, especially by him giving Soleimani a chance. Soleimani, the Fernandes or something his name is, and Dibling are pretty potent front three in terms of like they create a lot of chances. And I don't know if because we were rubbish defensively or whether they're really good players up front, but just something to monitor. That's all. Like Soleimani especially looked dangerous, man. He had Euro on toast.
Yep. They'll be more potent if they had wood. Moving on.
We promised not to do this.
We have to get one in first.
As soon as Zoph said on Twitter that I'm buying wood, my response was, this is the end of FPL Wire. Now we cannot control and we cannot like go through a pod without talking about it.
Yeah, and then you had this one pod where I wasn't there, where you guys decided that we are going to call him Chris. I mean, no, yeah, you're going to take away like a flurry of jokes from us? No chance. That's not happening. I'm sorry.
Pras refused to come on otherwise.
No, I didn't say that.
Let's talk Everton Villa.
I think Rogers looked good.
Rogers looked good. I think Watkins had one big chance at the end, the start. Again, Villa didn't create much, but it's good for them to get an away win. The away form had slumped a little bit, and again, Everton, this one, Moyes mentioned at the end of the game that Dyche left behind a team of great characters, but we need to add quality. That's a way of saying that he has a pretty shit bunch of players.
I mean, did you see Calvert-Lewin's finish again? I don't know how he missed that chance. Like, it was right in the front of goal, and he's been doing this for a year and a half now. Like, at some point, you need to give him a striker. Because they spent 35 million on Better, but he was 30 million, I think it was. But he was a dud. So, just something for Rogers owners. After this week, he's playable for 3 weeks quite comfortably. So, just while you're planning your teams, he's got West Ham at home, Wolves away, Ipswich at home. So, he looks good after this week.
Agree.
Leicester, Palace. Again, I think Palace weren't very good. I watched bits of this game. Palace were very controlled in the first half. I thought Leicester had a few decent opportunities. But again, second half, Palace got much more control in the ball. I think may have been part of the game plan in the first half to stay compact. And again, we expected them to be defensively a bit more leaky with Chalobah gone. I don't think this game really taught us anything.
But they should have conceded, right? I thought Leicester had enough chances.
100%. And like it's substantiated the slight thought that with Palace, right, you're always more confident, especially of your wingback returns at home. I don't know what it is about that Palace pitch, but it feels different to the slightly bigger pitches elsewhere.
I thought Mitchell got forward a bit more than Munoz in this game. Mitchell had a couple of good opportunities.
Yeah.
But that again depends on the winger who he's facing, right?
91st minute, Munoz pass to Sarr, who shot on goal. Did you see that?
Yes.
They were so close to greatness.
So close.
And even the Mateta miss, where basically the ball ricocheted off Munoz into Mateta's feet. That was also a good chance.
Newcastle Wolves. Complete domination by Newcastle. Wolves should have scored. That being said, Strand Larsen quite wasteful. Cunha had a good chance as well. Lemina asking to leave is quite interesting. I think that takes away a key element in their midfield. I think he's been a big player for them over the last few seasons. But Newcastle are putting, man, it's 5 clean sheets in the last 6. And this is the Newcastle we expected to see when we were talking about them right before game week 1. You remember that, LR?
Is Isak the most complete striker in the league? Is he the best striker in the league?
You tell us.
What do you think? Genuine question.
I don't think he's as complete as Haaland yet. Are we talking FPL or real life?
Real life.
Because I think Haaland, the problem is he's very
Haaland is
much
clear,
like a finisher, right? Isak is a creator.
Okay, if you're saying complete from that sense, but he's working in the system in which he's operating,
That's true.
He's doing the job. Like he's not supposed to do the Isak role. Isak is a floater. Like he can go left, he can go right, he can dribble. Like we all remember that assist from 2 seasons ago from left wing, which he actually didn't get an assist for. You remember that one? Where Isak got the ball on the left wing and then he's a footballer. He's a proper footballer and a goal scorer. But better than Haaland, I don't know yet.
But he'll push him close now. I genuinely think what a genuine joy to watch as well.
Yeah. At 8.5, I think he is as big of a pricing mistake as a Joao Pedro. He should have easily been 10 million.
Yep. A little unfortunate for Gordon owners, I thought, this game. They deserved one more goal.
Every game week, Gordon should get at least one more than what he's getting.
Yeah. And Hall still looks very threatening. Is Gordon still a buy this week? Yeah, he is. Irrespective of slightly tougher fixtures, because Newcastle are one of the form teams in the league.
Yeah.
I think he is, but I just want to say there is a period that is coming where some people might, after Fulham, say actually the entry point for Bumo is very good. Like if you get Bournemouth, Southampton, Fulham, then you jump on to Bumo. You could even do it before. Bumo has home to Spurs, which is also a very nice fixture. But why I like 25 more is by 24 you can see what happens in the Carabao Cup final, and then 25 make a more informed decision. So to recommend somebody to buy for 3 weeks, maybe you keep longer. I just want to caveat that. I think certainly he's an excellent pick right now. He's a very nice FPL pick where in a team which is purring and you don't make any gains from the main man. So if you want a second guy who's on set pieces, who's scoring goals, not just getting assists, he's a great pick.
I just feel like the best entry point was last week. Rightly so. Because even Bournemouth and Fulham, Southampton is a good game, but Bournemouth and Fulham at home aren't easy games.
Agree.
Yeah.
Move on to Arsenal Spurs. I didn't watch much of this one. I think, again, Spurs, they had limited chances from what I could tell from the data. Either of you guys watch it?
They didn't have any chances.
They've won one game in their last 9 games now. So there's the certain doom and gloom vibe there is about Spurs is pretty much looming. And what they'll do is they'll pull out a performance out of nowhere, which will be 2 or 3 goals, and now might be a right time to do it, because Spurs are going to be a team that people are going to look at in a week or 2 weeks. Like next week, I might sell Haaland, right? Like Solanke is on my mind because he's got a starting point of Leicester at home, and then he's got tough fixtures. Pras has rightly pointed about Spurs run 2 or 3 weeks ago on this podcast, but like that little doom and gloom factor with Spurs doesn't inspire much confidence at the moment.
And Richarlison is back, right? I mean, he played on the left for Son. But when a team is not doing well, right, everybody's expected minutes come down 10%. Like you don't know if he tries something or whatever. And in this game, that Son goal was like highly deflected. So like I felt a little unlucky as a Arsenal defense owner. But look, that's what you buy. But otherwise, this was a solid Arsenal performance, not a flamboyant, extraordinary performance. It was a solid home performance where they deserve to win.
Martinelli owners, any cause to be worried, or do you think just rotation?
Ronald actually was asked, I was talking to him today, FPL Pig, and he was asking me what he should do with Martinelli. I told him see out the Villa game because that actually suits his skill set in terms of the high line. And, he might get a chance or 2, and after that, sell him if you need to.
Yeah, after that is Wolves, the Man City at home, Leicester, West Ham. The fixtures are good.
Yeah. It's just that it's either they go to Gordon right now or wait for a week or 2 and move to Bumo. And I just feel like moving to Bumo, now that Aston Villa is there right now, is a better play in my head.
I'd give it another week and then assess. I'm on board with that.
Yeah, he's definitely going to start now that he missed the last game. So, and this is the goal share thing we also talked about, right, with Arsenal. Right? After Saka, there's no focal point. Goals can be, you won't be surprised if anyone scores. Like Trossard, it could be Havertz, it could be Odegaard, it could be Martinelli. Anyone is scoring right now because there is no one pattern. They're still discovering their new pattern.
Anything else in this game? Move on to Thursday's matches.
Was it a Gabriel assist?
I think so. I mean, why
Yes.
hasn't it been given? From what I've seen from the replay, he heads it onto Solanke and the ball goes in. It's a textbook assist. What's the issue there?
He heads it on to Dragusin, who then heads it on to Solanke. At least that's the interpretation.
That's not clear either. Like
It's not.
It
It's not.
just should be an assist, in my opinion.
Do you guys remember this happened last season? I think it was away to West Ham where Gabriel got given an assist and then it got converted to a goal a week or so later by the dubious goal spanner. I wouldn't be surprised if it
Oh yeah,
gets
Saka
given
got taken the assist as well for that.
Yeah, because you can't even convince me that the shot is completely off target from the angle it is. It hits Sri Lanka and goes in, but you can't say that's definitely off target. It wouldn't surprise me to be given as a Gabriel goal in a few weeks. Anyway, moving on, Thursday fixtures. Ipswich, Brighton. I didn't watch any of these games. I haven't had time really to take in the highlights as well. So let's talk about United Southampton, since I guess, Pras, you watched that?
Yeah. I mean, it was a pathetic performance for 70 minutes. Basically, the team, without getting too much into Man United, is basically the team is improving, but the team doesn't know how to play a team worse than themselves. Because if your team is worse than Man United, then what you have to do is you have to patiently build up play from the back. You have to not lose possession. It's not just about making those hero runs and a hero pass to a Garnacho or an Amad. It's about patiently building and then transitioning forward. They don't know how to do that. So even when you are like the other team is pressing, all they're trying is like these long balls or trying to make a player through. Southampton were incredibly good. They should have been 3-0 up. I mean, maybe you can argue 3-1 because Garnacho missed a very easy chance. So it was very poor. But that's where, when you have a player like Amad in the last 10 minutes, Xerxes made a massive impact. As soon as Xerxes came, there was a little bit of, you could hold up the ball better. So then other players could come and then we were actually moving forward on the pitch. This was not happening before. So Xerxes made a good impact. But apart from that, not great.
Everyone tells me Southampton were decent.
Yes.
They were decent. But we made them look decent.
But there is a slight upward trajectory in their attacking play. Like I can see that they had one dud performance against Brentford, but outside of that, they've had 3 or 4 pretty decent performances. So from an attacking point of view, they're doing well. Like as a dribbling owner, first of all, he's playing striker now. So as my 8th attacker, I don't mind him because him and Soleimani are playing striker, and it's something that Juric mentioned in his press conference. I've been paying attention to this because I have dribbling. He mentioned in a press conference that I prefer him playing closer to the goal now because he uses skill set. He doesn't need to run so much because he's young, and I want him to conserve energy, which is why I want him to play closer to goal. So if you're somebody like me, rare manager that has dribbling, he looks like a fine old right now because he looks like first choice striker for an improving Southampton attack.
It's a bit of a strange thing to say that you want a young player to conserve energy, though, right? That doesn't sounds a bit strange to say.
Yeah.
But what changed in the 80th minute? Like after that, it just did Amad just go nuts?
Xerxes was great at progressing the ball on interchange, and Eriksen came into midfield.
Interesting, but obviously none of those guys are FPL options.
And FPL relevant information, actually at halftime, Bruno moved to the center mid position because of this problem that nobody actually in midfield was able to pass the ball. So basically he had to move back, but even that didn't work necessarily because Garnacho didn't have the best of games and they brought on Anthony to actually play right forward for a while. And in fact, he played there, but ultimately after 80th minute, Amad was like, we'll both be right forward. So I don't think there was a little bit, it was not like Anthony moved to right wing back. Amad just decided that I'm going to stay up now. You guys need me. So, and then he's an elite presser, right? He created one of those goals where he was just pressing the goalkeeper and he got the ball. So it was all created by him. Like, I think a fair result here would be like a 2-2 this game.
But we do talk about Bruno, Pras. How was he?
He got 2 bonus. He did what Bruno does. Like, I just think some games he'll get an assist, some games he won't. Some games he'll get a goal.
I was quite surprised he got bonus when I looked at the underlying numbers. This is probably helped by the fact that there was only one goal scorer and the other goal was an own goal.
Yeah, so 18 BPS is not huge. 19 BPS, whatever he ended up with. He had a chance. He had a chance where he could chip the keeper and he saved it. He created, in at least 2 or 3 occasions, he was the guy who created the assist for somebody who could have scored. So that Garnacho, he had a Bruno performance. Like, you don't get frustrated with these players. You own them. You don't captain them. They are like Mbumos. They are like Sakas. You keep them. You enjoy their points. They will come and you don't lose patience. 3 weeks after I know the picture of game week 29, 34, I might look to sell him or I might not. But I'm not losing patience on him.
So you're saying Bruno is a buy?
No. Bruno's a terrible pick. No one should buy.
Ipswich Brighton, anything to cover here before we talk captaincy?
Yeah, Pedro looked fine. I think if you're having a bench dilemma, given how many chances we conceded to Southampton, I think is a play. I think there are points there for the taking for Pedro in this week. And I expect him to start with Danny Welbeck. And by nature of Welbeck playing as striker and Pedro playing as number 10, I think it ups both their FPL potential. So I won't be surprised to see Brighton score a couple and Pedro be involved against us.
But yeah, Welbeck being back is quite big for them. Cool. Let's talk about some of the fixtures for this week, guys. In particular, captaincy. Now, obviously, the options have been whittled down now with the Palmer doubt. Let's have a look at the projected odds. Like you see over here, Chelsea were top 2.65. This might drop now after the injury news.
So Rob T has actually shared the latest player numbers, and Salah is now above Palmer for expected goals. So maybe he would have been anyway, but it's actually a material difference. 0.84 for Salah, 0.72 for Palmer. Palmer will have a higher assist threat, I suppose, but now it's very, very close to actually not bother. Just go Salah.
So Forest are 2.2. I got a few questions about captaining Chris Wood, but I think the answer will be common to what we all will say. It's a ceiling issue with Chris Wood, right? You expect him to get the goal, but how many times has he got multiple returns in the same game with like a 2 or 3 shots? The chances of a hat-trick are quite low. I would say that this Chris Wood isn't scoring a hat-trick this weekend.
No chance.
No chance.
Yeah. I mean, this is a jinx for those people who don't.
You're not supposed to say that.
I mean, you'll just get point. If he scores like 2 goals, we'll be like, look, FPL Sponge tagged you. Did you see on Twitter?
Yeah.
On your Semenyo comment. So you'll get tagged again. So I'm just clarifying it.
But just to know that Cruz is definitely scoring a brace this week.
Hat-trick, man. Hat-trick.
I just wanted to add to the balance here.
Why not?
Hey, we're still playing FPL and competing, yeah?
Yep.
No, but serious answer, I think I completely agree with you. He gets 1 big chance a game. He scores it. I want a player who gets 5. So there's a chance that he scores 3 of them.
Yep.
But I'll just say that like Southampton do have the tendency to play into a team like Forest because of how well they press, etc. as well. But I think Salah's the clear captaincy option between the two for sure. Yep. Just because I saw the Brentford City game and Brentford afforded 2 XG plus to City, and Liverpool are a much better attack. So I do expect Salah to have a good day.
Looking at Isak's numbers, Newcastle are 2.15 against Bournemouth, which again shows how much the bookies are respecting the cherries now.
Yeah.
Clean sheet
Just
odds.
a use case scenario. If tomorrow we see training pictures of Palmer, where are you then?
In general, I'm not that keen on Chelsea right now. We're in a bit of a malaise. I don't think we're in a good spot right now. Probably, I wasn't going to go Palmer even if he was fit. I've just been on Salah because I just don't think Salah is going to blank 2 games in a row. We got away with 1 week of going against Salah. I don't think second week there's any reason to.
I'm a little frustrated with that Palmer injury. I thought a lot of people would go Salah, and I have a sense which kind of games suit Palmer, and especially these kind of games where a team doesn't have a great identity in terms of they don't going to press, but they're not going to sit and defend either. Like Palmer tends to do well in these sort of games, so he was my captaincy option in this game, but now I'm not going to do it.
I still think there's a very low chance that he comes off the bench, though. I think he either starts or misses out entirely. If you're feeling it, you could still go there.
It's not Palmer also. It's the Enzo doubt, it's the Lavia doubt, it's the Colville doubt. So there's a lot of trickle-down effect for me to go there now.
If I were to guess, I think Palmer, Enzo and Colville play. Lavia might miss out because Lavia has had a bunch of other injury issues.
Yeah.
Just looking at some clean sheet numbers, Forest are on top. I don't think any of us have owned a Forest defensive asset this season.
No.
No, but we all owned them in spirit last game week against Salah, who we didn't captain.
Pretty much. But again, I think Forest defender, you buy this week, the fixtures do toughen up. I don't mind them as much for the attackers. But then if you look at defensive fixtures, after this for Forest is Bournemouth away, Brighton home, Fulham away, Newcastle away, Arsenal, Man City. You're not buying a Forest defender now. Maybe sells. No. I don't mind as much as a goalkeeper because he's just getting a lot of saves. But all the defenders, limited upside. Maybe Milenkovic has some goal threat. Aina is a top scoring defender and he's attempted, I think, 7 assists the entire season. Sums up Forest for you.
They're good. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people that blow their assistant manager chip trying to say, I'll catch them, I'll catch Nottingham Forest for table bonus. And if they have a stellar season till the end, then they're going to disappoint a lot of FPL managers because people will chase them for table bonus.
Who knows what happens for the end of the season? For you, LR, 2.55 Man City against Ipswich.
Yep. Hat-trick against them in the second game week of the season. So I'm just hoping that sort of plays into my favor. I'll take it on.
Cool. Anything else to discuss before we go into our bus teams?
Arsenal,
No.
if clean sheet numbers look high, didn't Villa do the double on them? Was it last season or the season
yes.
before?
Last season they did. Home and away.
So, of course, it's a different Villa team. But I think there's a little edge, right? Emery is playing his old team. I'm not buying this 44% for Arsenal, and I'm also trying something different. Arsenal will not keep a clean sheet.
Cool. Are we doing a sleeper plug? Let's just do the sleeper plug real quick for the Pick'em.
Yeah, so we have the sleeper league, and January is well underway. And if you want to join, you can join the sleeper app. You can download it using the QR code on the top right, and on the bottom right you have the actual league. This is the public league. How many jerseys have you just given out, LR? 6?
No, I've given. No. There's gonna be, so just for Karan gave us the winners and everything's been confirmed in the last 5 days. So I'm going to sit on Sunday and send out 5 jerseys on Sunday.
So 3 for the winners for our Discord league. So there's a separate Discord league that you can join, but there's a public league which is the QR code on the right, bottom right, and that every single month the winner, all you have to do is predict whether Newcastle versus Bournemouth is a draw, win for either side. You have to do that for all the 10 games. If you're the best at predicting, you win a jersey. And at the end of the season, if you're in the top 10, the top 3 get a PlayStation. The other 7 also get a jersey. So there's a lot of prizes on offer. Get involved. If you want to join our Discord league, the way to do that is to join us as a member on YouTube or on patreon.com/the FPL Wire. And there's a ton of other things. Like I had mentioned last time, it's not just the pick'em stuff with Sleeper. There are prizes. We're starting competitions, last man standing. There's a cup for which there are prizes. So get involved.
Right. Let's do our teams. This is my team up first. Henderson, who finally came through with a clean sheet. Alexander-Arnold, Gabriel, Robinson, Bumo, Salah Cap, Palmer, Sarr, Gordon, Wood and Isak, with Joao Pedro, Mikalenko and Greaves on the bench. Jackson to Wood was the transfer I made early. I think the other one I'll probably save it now. Unless we get a leak that Jota is starting. In that case, Sarr to Jota is something I have exact cash for. Would you guys do the move if we get the leak?
No.
Even with the Sarr injury doubt?
You have Joao Pedro to come on if Sarr is an injury doubt. Like, with Jota, man, like, he's already coming back from an injury. And now we have heard that he has a little injury. Like, it feels like playing with fire.
It does.
No, but like if he gets news that Jota starts.
But his point is he could get injured again.
He could get injured again, like, or they would manage his minutes, 55-minute sub. Okay, he starts and he gets taken off on the 51st minute as a sub. What does that tell you? Like,
But like Pras, I can also say, yeah, okay, he starts and then he has a brace by the 65th minute and he's subbed off. Like both.
I think brace is irrelevant. Diaz was scoring hat-tricks and he got dropped. Gakpo scoring every week and he gets dropped. Like, I feel the minutes is the bigger risk than the upside, is all I'm saying, to go this week. I'm also keen to get him if he's playing. What I'm saying no to is basically jumping in this week. I feel for Jota specifically, it just feels such a risk, man.
It does.
I would do it. I don't want to sit on the fence. If you get news and if you're tempted, do it.
It'll be close because Jota, I have a weak spot for.
Like if he starts, then there's like but like I don't think he'll start. I think it could be the other 3. Diaz,
Brentford
Gakpo.
is an intense game. It's not a
Yeah.
game where you want to chuck somebody.
I won't be surprised to see Darwin also just because of the height factor.
That's a good
Coming
point.
back from suspension. Yeah.
LR, your team?
Yeah, I've got Raya, Munoz, Gabriel, Robinson, Salah, Palmer. Palmer was my cap before the news. Sarr, Ahmad, Haaland, Isak and Pedro. Dibbling, Greaves and O'Shea as my subs. Captaincy will switch to Haaland and vice captain will be Salah. And I have 3 free transfers. I'm looking to save and go into 4 free transfers next week, where I will sell the big man and I'm eyeing up 2 Liverpool players and Boomer.
Yeah, talk about that because we're not doing team selections this week. So talk about your path a little bit. Like, what are your options?
So like a lot of people are losing faith in a certain Jackson, but he's who I'm looking to buy. So I think he's a good differential to own, and I do think that the minutes will turn there. So I could go Haaland down to Jackson. Solanke was the other striker in consideration. And I'm looking around for strikers if somebody emerges. And then I can upgrade a Sar to Bumo. And I want to upgrade one of my defenders to Trent. Like that's the initial starting point. But I'm open to Gakpo. I'm open to Jota. I will have lots of money to play with once this happens.
Right.
I'd say keep Haaland against Chelsea.
It's a tempting proposition, and it depends because it's about how badly. The only real reason I want to sell Haaland is maybe if Jota turns out to be a very intriguing pick against Ipswich at home in 23. If not, I'll roll into 24 with 5 free transfers.
Plus, who could have guessed Ella would be the one to hit 5 free transfers first among us?
I know, man. So jealous. But
Hey.
it is not because of patience. It's because of like he cannot do anything like until he sells Haaland.
Yeah. And and like, Sar and Ahmad are fine. They're keeping me afloat at the moment, so I'm not too bothered there.
Plus,
That's it. It's not just it's not just Jota. I will also want Trent next week, Zoph. And the clear captaincy option next week is Salah against Ipswich at home, right? So my thinking is if I'm not captaining Haaland, I don't see much value in holding him next week, which is why I want to distribute the funds because I want to get at least Trent in place for Ipswich at home. So that's the thinking. Why I want to make the move next week and not roll over to game week 24.
Visa is a good entry point next week as well.
Yeah, Vista as well. But I want to get Bumo, so I don't know if I want to double up. Like I know I prefer Bumo between the two.
I just think that that's a fixture where Haaland can really profit. Chelsea give a lot of space in the middle.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, I'm just hoping for a contract celebration on Sunday. One last dance.
That should be interesting. Pras, your team?
So before I do my team, I want to say that there's 1,000 people watching and not enough likes. So if you can, please like the stream. That would be much appreciated. And if you are new, please subscribe. We are at 35,500, something like that. So we're targeting 40,000 if that's possible. So if you're new and you like what you hear, then please consider subscribing. So my team, I've got Raya and Gabriel, which every week I say is, it is what it is. I've got Trent. I have no reason to sell him. I'm benching Munoz, and LR already is seeing bench pain there. I'm going to play Robinson away to Leicester.
Makes me very happy.
Well, I could if Sar misses out, then Munoz comes in. So it's not the end of the world.
You still get bench points, Pras. Your first bench, even when they come on, they get points. We saw with Rodgers.
Yeah.
It's true. Then I've got Rod. I think the midfield is fine, right? It's a good midfield. Maybe you can argue that Bumo instead of Bruno Fernandes is better on the eye to look at, but otherwise I'm happy with this. And then Chris Wood and Isak are both good as well. So this week, if as you can see from the bus team, also I was on Palmer captain, but I think I'm going to switch to Salah. And now for the next 4 weeks, I think Salah is the best captain. Like for most people, like apart from the Haaland owners, apart from the Mavericks who go for Chris Wood or for Isak. Next week, Salah is the best captain. The week after, Salah is the best captain. And the week after, Salah is the best captain.
Haaland's the best. Salah's the best captaincy option. Like even for the Haaland owners, Salah's the best captaincy.
Did I say Haaland? Sorry, I meant Salah is the best for the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I want to say. Salah is the best captaincy option. Like, you said even for the Haaland owners. Yeah. Even the Haaland owners think that Salah's the best captaincy option.
Right. Yeah. So this is the plan. So I will have 3 free transfers next week. And I think I will also roll next week to 4 free transfers by game week 24. And that's the point which I want to start making some moves. So I could do Raya and Robinson to Pickford and Konate, or I could do Alisson and Tarkowski or Mikolenko, whoever the Everton defender is. That's at least where I'm thinking to go. But I'm open to going Chris Wood to Gakpo as well, if that becomes an option after Europe. So I'm not sort of getting blocked in terms of my third Liverpool. And I'll leave it as late as possible, including waiting for slot, if that becomes an option.
Cool. There are a few super chats, guys.
Just want to mention just one point with regards to Raya and Gabriel, who all of us own, and people losing patience with Arsenal defenders. I just want to mention that the fixtures now, there's some few clean sheet fixtures on the horizon. So from now onwards, they got Villa at home. Not an easy clean sheet fixture, but a decent one. Then they got Wolves away. You would expect a clean sheet there. Then got City at home. And after that, you got Leicester away and West Ham at home in 25 and 26. So you shouldn't hurry or lose patience with their Arsenal defenders at the moment, because there's 3 good clean sheet fixtures in the next 5 game weeks.
Definitely Gabriel is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But he could come down to 2, from 2 to 1 if you want.
So super chats. First one from Nilesh Kapoor. Sar to Bumo with a free transfer. He has exact cash for that. With the injury doubt, I don't mind that move.
I mean, is there any price movement? Because you don't have to get Boomo. Depends on the first sub, right? Like I would this week. You don't have to do it. You could wait a week and then do it. Boomo is a good entry point next week. But Boomo is a good pick anyway.
That's
But I'm
right.
just saying you might regret it if you do it this week. Maybe you want to keep Sar or maybe you want to find another move. Saving seems a little better if you have a decent first sub.
Makes sense. Yeah, it's very first sub dependent. But that being said, it just feels like an upgrade. I would do it anyway.
Fair.
Pulkit sends us a super chat, no questions, but love you guys. Take care. Have to jump off. All the best. LR Haaland captain. Here we go.
Yes, let's go.
From Shaunak, and he's basically written his entire team and he's asked for any transfers needed. So instead of reading it out, can you guys see it?
Yeah, we can see it.
Let's have a quick look. So standard stuff. Cole, Palmer, Bruno, Amar, Salah. No, the team looks fine. I don't think he needs any transfers.
Team looks fine. He's got a good bench also. Don't bench Joao Pedro. Start him.
Over?
Who does Jimenez play? He's got Jimenez.
He's Leicester, man.
Exactly.
Oof.
But Jimenez has a doubt, right? Because it's a short turnaround.
Yeah, but it's Leicester, Pras.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. He missed Southampton as well. Muniz played.
I know, but still, I mean, Joao Pedro ultimately has Manchester United, whatever.
No, I'm not saying bench him. I'm just as a general topic. If somebody's looking at it, I don't think Jimenez is a guaranteed starter this weekend.
You got Bruno and Ahmad. Would you bench either of them for Pedro?
I like Brighton against the big teams. You always fancy the matchup for the attackers.
Yeah.
I mean, JP is not a guaranteed starter as well, right? This week, like he is still coming back from an injury.
Right, but the
Welbeck
fact that
should
they
start.
they rushed him back for the Ipswich game itself tells you where he is in the pecking order, right? For Brighton, if he's fit, he starts.
But what I'm saying is Welbeck should start this game because he's also due a start. And they have got a lot of people. They've got Rutter, they've got Enciso, they've got, So all I'm saying is, normally speaking, if there was not a tight turnaround and there was no ankle injury issues, then yeah, Joao Pedro is fine. But I'm just saying there's a little bit, I would put his availability at like 90%.
Yeah, the team's fine. I think you can stick. Cool. Let's wrap up. We've gone 90 minutes. We said we'd try to keep it under an hour. Never happens.
Never.
But also, like, we wanted to go deeper into the teams because since it's a one-day turnaround to the deadline, we're not going to be doing team selection videos just for this week because it just doesn't make sense doing the pod on Friday and then having 2 or 3 team selection videos drop on Saturday. So I hope you guys understand that. And we hope you guys enjoyed the pod. Good luck this week. And happy 7th day to everybody that's watching.
Right. I think next week the pod's going to be on Friday again as well, right? Tentatively, that's what we've planned. So
yes,
a lot of team news again. I like it. We can be quite comprehensive. We have all the data. It's quite useful.
And what we could do is, if we are sure about our moves or paths, we could drop the team selection videos earlier and let the pod go as the last piece of content in the week.
Good idea.
Could do that. They want to know where you're going with Haaland money, man. So yeah, drop yours first.
Well, let's see. I mean, if Haaland drops a brace, then I might want to pay attention to Zoph's advice.
I think you keep him for Chelsea, man. Regardless, he's going to destroy us. Cool. On that note, have a great game week, guys. See you back next week.
See you next week.
Good luck.